Okay, so again, I want to introduce Chris Ahman. He's a certified fitness instructor for the Cooper Institute out of Dallas. You know, if you've ever been by the Craig's Ranch area, it's a really high level performance center. You know, fitness, biomechanics, health, wellness, whole thing. If you want to, you can do a little more research on it. Again, the Cooper Institute, if you want to know more about it. Chris is also a student of mine. He's also competing for the National Long Drive Championship. He will be this year. Um, he's a physical specimen. He lives he really lives this stuff on an everyday basis. When I say stuff, he lives the training with the kettlebells, training, diet. He makes sacrifices versus justifications, and that's what I think probably the biggest traps that we see is you might see players that are out there that they're trying to train, but their diet's not strong enough, and so they don't feel like they can move as well, and things aren't changing fast enough, so they just kind of give up on it and so forth. And then they see players that might have the right diet, but they're not doing anything as far as in the training exercise or neither of one of those. So you just never really know. And so when we're doing these webinars, um, I try to just speak it's really about learning like what pitfall you or a trap you might be in, or if you're doing things the right way, what we believe is the right way, and so forth. And so golf fitness is really different than just general fitness. I mean, there's a lot of styles of fitness. You've got weightlifting for, like, there's bodybuilding, for example, but how many bodybuilders do you see out on the PGA tour and any tour? And you don't need all these pumping muscles and isometric training, and that just means using one muscle at a time. And golf fitness it's really based on rotation. It's based on rotational stability and rotational mobility, and within that, into that would be the balance portion of it. And so uh, it's not about how big your arms are. It's not, what you're really trying to focus on. The three areas I talk about all the time that I believe you cannot be too good at is the lower core, the glutes. The Tiger made that famous, obviously, and then you have the thoracic mobility. And if you get those three things right, you will be on the right track. Most people don't have the enough thoracic mobility, so they compensate through their hips. They also don't have enough lower core strength, so they compensate through their lower spine, the lumbar, and they get injured. And also that could transfer up to the neck, depending on the player. Could be a lot of different things there. Um, and so the glutes are also kind of like the glue that hold everything together. So if everything else is working right and your glutes are there, they're kind of like the glue. They keep everything somewhat connected. So if you have those three areas and you're working on those three areas, you're in the right track. If you're not working on those three areas specifically, you need to change your training. If you're not doing anything at all, it's very difficult to be just naturally good in those areas. I like to think of the golfers. I say this all the time. It's a really specific. If you're on a team, it would be like if you were playing football, for instance, and you have all these studs out there that they're just high level athletes. Can do box jumps. They can throw up 350 pounds on bench press. They can do double their body weight. They can do all these squats, deadlifts, all these crazy things. But you put them out there and you say, all right, there's a specialty position out here called kicking a football through the field goal, kicking field goals, and you take all these high-level athletes, you might only have a half a dozen of them on the whole team, 40, 50 guys that can actually can do it. And it's because it's a rotational sport. Same thing with quarterbacks as well. It's why there's not so many guys that are that can do that. And so it changes when you have to rotate around your spine. The game changes. If you're just going face on, if you're just going forward, back and forward, I mean, it's still, there's some things that require a certain amount of talent and strength and so forth. But when you start having to twist around your spine and turn and keep things in check, that's where you see things break down. That's why you don't see very many field goal kickers. You don't see many quarterbacks, pitchers in baseball, same thing. It's the rotational sports. They're very specific. And so that's why there's that you see 100 golfers, you might have one that's actually a natural. Maybe it's 1,000 that's actually fairly natural at it, just like you would with field goal kickers or pitchers or quarterbacks or soccer and whatever it may be, where you're having to, again, go around your body and strike something and then keep going around the other side. So With that being said, I'm going to open it up to Chris, let him introduce himself, kind of his background, what he does. He knows within what we do very well. And I think he can be a tremendous asset to anybody listening to this webinar tonight. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up. May turn some of the other mics off, but I'm gonna open it up for Chris to take over here and talk a little bit about his experience. And then I'll start asking Chris some questions and things that he thinks are things that he sees that we can do better as amateurs, but also professionals that are on here tonight as well. So let's see here. Yo, Chris.
Hello.
All right.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for the introduction. How's everybody doing tonight? I don't know if I can hear anybody back. It's just me talking.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, he hit on a lot of the subjects that I was going to talk about. I guess to start it, I've been doing long drive now for about 13 years. I kind of stumbled into it on accident. I played golf as a kid with my grandfather. Got more into the powerlifting, bodybuilding, isometric. Wanted the muscle to be as big and bulky as it could and be as strong as I could. And just went out one day and was, playing golf with some buddies, and I drove one 380 down the middle, and I knew that's a pretty big number. Let me see how this compares to these long drive guys. And I looked up some Florida competitions, and they were hitting, 320s, 330s. So I naturally thought, okay, I can win this. I can get in a long drive and beat these guys. I'm hitting 380, they're hitting 330, and I just didn't factor in the variables of humidity and winds and moisture on the ground and all these different factors that same conditions those guys may hit 450 if they had the right tailwind and the hard ground. But started learning that. I went into Art Sellinger's shop. He was the king of long drive, started it, co-founder, or actual founder of it. The first time he saw me, I was buying new clubs, and he looked at my chest and my biceps, and he's like, those got to go. I'm like, what are you talking about? Pecs and biceps, they serve no purpose in golf. They got to go. They're just going to hurt your swing. And it really got me thinking. I was like, man, I really, really like golf, but I've always wanted these big muscles, so what do I do now? So I decided to get into what can I do? I looked at Jason Zubak. He's a 4 or 5 time world champion in long drive, and he's built like a linebacker, 5'10", 245. So, okay, so it is possible, but is it helpful? So I continued trying to do the squats, do the deadlifts, do bench presses and curls and everything that's going to build the muscles while still trying to swing. And what I found out is that tension kills distance. So the harder I went to the gym and lifted to these isometric movements, the more tension I found in my body, whether it was in my hips or my low back or my glutes or my hamstrings. Something was limiting my mobility, my spinal rotation. I'd go out on a Sunday and hit beautiful and just kill the ball, go do a heavy workout Monday morning, and then Monday night go out there and I couldn't hit it to save my life. And it was just because there's so much limitation in the body from that heavy lifting, that isometric style lifting, that taking muscles to failure to make them bulk up. So start thinking, all right, I need to choose. Like, I don't have the option to spend 8 hours a day to spend the first hour powerlifting and then the next 3 hours stretching so that I can go to hitting golf balls again and have that flexibility I need. That's when I started looking more into functional fitness and sport-specific training and what exercises could I do that wouldn't take away from my golf, but also maybe not necessarily take away from the physical, the aesthetic appeal. That's when I discovered kettlebells. Kettlebells are just unbelievable for golf. That was one of the first articles I read, is if you really want a powerful golf drive, you've got to pick up this ball of steel. Like, hey, that's me in a nutshell. I want my drive further and I want to work out. So discovered those and how it mimics the athletic position, the starting position of your golf swing. You're firing your hips, your glutes. Something that I've learned through Coach Christian here recently. The contain at the top. It's all, I knew it was connection through the muscle, that you want to keep your whole body connected, but containing that energy at the top, it's how you really deliver power to the ball. And I think that the part where you lose that contain at the top usually falls somewhere in your obliques. You get the club to the top of your backswing, you've rotated, and then somewhere through your stomach, your obliques, the hips start to fire, and then it kind of gets loose through your core. And then all of a sudden your shoulders catch the heat and you're casting it, or you're throwing it too hard and you're ending up with these pains in your upper body, where when you do stuff like a kettlebell, it trains you how to keep all those muscles connected through the movement So now at the top of your backswing, you stay contained, and as you pull through, there's never a moment of relaxation. I know I said tension kills distance. You want to have somewhat of a tension or connectivity from toe to fingertip, but it's not like a flexed tension. It's just a connection, a contain. You want to contain all that energy. So I've been doing that more and more. It's still a big toss-up on how do you put your training program together with your golf practice, because there's a lot of exercises or moves. Even with the kettlebell, I'm swinging 35s or 50-pound kettlebells. You can do that hard enough that you're still going to end up tense or tight the next day, and then, all right, I can't do my golf workout the next day because I just did kettlebell, so let me put yoga here and then go to the driving range the next day. There's a lot of balance in it, but what I was reading an article from Jeff Flagg. He's the 2013 or 14 World Long Drive Champion. They asked him, how many times a week do you go to the driving range? How do you go to the gym? How do you divide it up? He said, honestly, I consider myself an athlete first. My job is to make my body as healthy as it can be, as functional as it can be, as flexible as it can be, just to be ready so that whatever my coach asks me to do, I can do it to the best of my ability. I'm not going to have any limitations in me, no shoulder tweaks, low back pains, hamstring tightness, anything that's going to keep me from being able to do exactly what he asked me to do. So I spend more time on my body than I do on the range. I think I'm going to get the swing. I've got the swing. I understand how to do it. It's more for me keeping my body ready to do it. So I've adapted that mentality more. I think once you understand Coach Kristen's teachings for, 5 steps to a golf swing, if you can understand those, it's pretty easy to duplicate over and over and over. So, all right, I know how to duplicate the swing. I just want to make sure I can get as much spinal rotation as I can, that I'm not feeling any kind of limitations through my hips or my glutes or hamstrings. So I want to stay as flexible as I can, and that way I'm getting in a lot of variety. I'll start Monday nights with yoga. Tuesdays I'll still throw in a heavy lifting day, squats or deadlifts or Olympic style, just to get those fast twitch. Fast twitch are for one explosive rep, like hitting a driver. I mean, it's all the muscles just going boom as fast as they can and hard as they can one time. So I'll still mix in some Olympic lifts, and then another night of yoga on Wednesday. Today's kettlebells, plyometrics, all functional. Everything I do, though, I always try to do it standing. I always try to mimic the sport that you're going to play. You play golf on your feet. You never hit a golf shot sitting down, so you don't want to sit on a bench. You want to stand on your feet. Always be working on that balance, working on the athletic position. Just try to match movements that you're doing in the golf world. A lot of spinal rotation and a lot of flexibility. But it just become a passion. The more I learn about it, the more I'm understanding how hard you can push yourself if you're doing it in the right methods to continually to gain strength, but not to limit your golf swing. And just technique, learning the technique as well opens up a lot of windows where you're not forced to throw shoulders into it or smaller muscles. You should be using the larger muscles. Kettlebells, planks, all these motions are going to teach you how to have that connective tissues from top to bottom, so that you're doing the same thing in your swing. Everything knows how to work together. As far as the lifestyle, to me, is a good word to sum up the whole athletic, functional training, golf, everything. I don't like diets. I don't want somebody to go on Atkins or to cut all their carbs or to do anything so extreme that they can't maintain it. If you can't maintain it, your results aren't going to be permanent either. They're going to be as temporary as whatever solution you're offering. So you want to do something you can maintain for the rest of your life. I still eat hamburgers. I still eat pizza. I still double stuffed Oreos. I have my moments. I do stuff what I want, but I just know. So I'm going out, and most of my meals are I drink water pretty much only. I don't put cheese on the hamburger. I don't put mayonnaise. You can just kind of watch calories as you go. Primarily, my focus on diet is I want to eat 5 meals a day. Keep your body burning fuel, and that way you'll never store any of it. A lot of people have a problem of not eating enough food, so they'll go in and have one major meal at the end of the day. Your body says, hey, I don't know how long it's going to be till he feeds me again. I'm going to store everything he just gave me as fat. I'm going to keep using his muscle as an energy source to make his heart beat, to make him breathe, to make him run up and down the stairs. That way we can preserve life. By eating 5 meals a day, your body knows, hey, this guy's giving me a meal every 2.5 hours. I don't need to store anything. Let's burn all these calories he just gave us as an energy source, maintain his muscle, store his muscle on his body, and that way you're burning fat, burning calories. Protein needs to be the focus of that diet. You can't store protein on your body, so you want 35, 45 grams of protein every 2.5 hours. However you can get it, amino acid tablets, some form of protein, and that's going to keep you in a muscle building state where your body never starts eating the muscle as an energy source, and that's just a horrible thing. You'll see skinny fat people, they call it, because they never eat. When they do, their body stores that as fat, but it's just eating all their muscle away. That's not the body composition you want. You want to be maintaining calories, especially as a golfer. You don't want to have to fast or have long periods of no carbs, because when you're out there for 18 holes, you need that energy. You need energy bars out there, a protein shake with you, something during the game as well, just because you'll start losing your ability to perform at the highest level if you get energy depleted or if you don't have enough calories in your body during a round of golf. So nutrition's a huge deal, but I hate the word diet. I say it's nutrition. It's a lifestyle choice. It's something that you do every day, every meal. Try to just eat as good as you can. Try to make a little better choice. Try to add meals to your day. I bet most of you aren't eating 5 times a day or getting that breakfast. Kickstarting your metabolism in the morning is the biggest part. Make sure if you're not doing anything else, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, some milk with it. Get some protein, some complex carbs. That'll kickstart your fat burning metabolism, and then just try to maintain that. You'll have to force it for a while. Look at your clock. Man, I'm not hungry at all, but it's been 2.5 hours. Let me take some protein in or some kind of amino. I promise you'll see a difference in your body composition. You'll feel better. You'll have more energy. Again, it's a lifestyle choice. It's not something that, I hate the word diet, and I don't want anybody out there just what's the quick fix to it, because I don't really think there's a quick fix to anything. I think it's all intensity and consistency. That's how you get results. The more results you want, you just get a little more intense or do it a little more consistently, and your results will step up as you do that. So I've been kind of rambling there. I don't know if, Matt, you want to step in and direct me somewhere more, what you're thinking? Or
I think there's a lot of great points there that you made, and that will, when we reflect over this, and the players, get the webinar video, that they'll be able to go over and pull up some great points that they can find. But I wanted to go over a couple of things. We talked a little bit about your training routine. I know it says on Monday you do yoga, Tuesdays Olympic lifts, Wednesdays kettlebells. Kind of give me what else you do throughout the week on your training schedule. What do you have your certain rest days, or do you train 7 days a week? What's your rest of your program there?
Yeah, that's rest. You grow when you rest. Your body has to rest. Sleep's a big deal, so that's where I get a lot of my recovery time. I take ZMA. I take a lot of different supplements that are geared towards recovery, because that's a big deal to me. It's just making sure my body's not broke down. The yoga, the Monday night one is more of it's a slow flow. It's not supposed to be as intense. So I do that more as a stretching. It's more for the balance, a little bit of core work, but primarily just a stretch, just to get my body open back up and as loose as it can be. Then I'll go in Tuesday morning, do the Olympic lifts. That's heavy squats, or front squats. I try to stay away from rear squats, but front squats are great for golfers. Deadlifts, explosive movements, but I'll do them in 3 reps or 5 reps, so it's not exhausting the muscle. It's just getting my muscle where I can do that fast twitch, that one explosive, just that much stronger. Then I'll take off Tuesday night, let that nice rest. Wednesday morning rest. The next week yoga class is Wednesday evening, so I've had 24 hours rest or 36 hours rest there. That yoga is a heated vinyasa, and it's a killer workout. I mean, you're head to toe just completely drenched. Every muscle in your body is exhausted and stretched. So that one I kind of just go and see how I feel. That's a big thing I've learned. I used to have every workout written down, every set, every weight, every rep, everything I was doing for the whole week. And as I've grown older, I've kind of learned to adjust to, you never know what happened that day, how you feel. I should have been doing 365, but 345 feels really heavy. I better stop. So you kind of got to listen to yourself, be flexible in the workouts, be flexible in the routine. So Thursday, it just depends on how I feel, how hard I worked at other stuff during the week, how much tension, or if I'm feeling still broke down. Today I was supposed to do the kettlebell in the morning, and because I didn't feel up to it, and really I would have had to wake up at about 4 o'clock because I had to be an hour and a half away at 7. So it's just, all right, I'm too tired to wake up that early to do it. I'll just do it after work. So I waited till the evening, switched up the kettlebell workout. Instead of doing, it's a meltdown 300 where it's 300 reps of full body explosive, I did a kettlebell carry workout where it's a lot less extreme on my body. It's more for building up your cardiovascular, loosening up the shoulders. It was a lot easier routine that I did just because my body was at the end of the day now I'm tired. Let's just kind of relax because Friday and Saturday are showing sun, and I want to make sure that I get to go hit golf balls both of those days or put in 18 holes. I don't want to tighten up my body anymore because Sunday doesn't look like an option. Sunday's supposed to be raining. So I'll adjust my schedule, throughout the week, especially like this, depending on weather or depending on other events that come up. The main thing is you don't want to go many days without a workout. Your body continues to tighten up when you don't work out. I don't see how some people can go without doing any physical activity where they ever get their heart rate elevated and they never get a light sweat, because if I don't, I start hurting everywhere. Even just laying around doing nothing, my back will tighten up, my shoulders tighten up. It's like, God, I've got to work out. I've got to do something to get me sweating from the inside out so that I loosen back up. But I always get it set up so that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, however it is, that's straight golf time. I do throw in a yoga class. There's a Ashtanga yoga on Saturday mornings that I'll do sometimes before I go to the driving range. Typically it'll be Ashtanga on Saturday morning, then driving range, and then I'll make Sunday my golf day, try to fit in 18 or 36 holes, because then my whole week's geared up, my body's healthy, it's strong, now I've stretched it back out, I'm really loose, I've gotten 2 days of practice with looseness. Sunday I'm ready to perform. There's no excuses out there. Like, there's not going to be anything physically stopping me from shooting my best score possible. So it kind of changes. And then, like, I've got the long drive competition coming up in Oklahoma on May 12th, 13th, 14th. I'm going to switch my whole workout. There's not going to be any heavy lifting that week. The week before, I think yesterday or Tuesday, I did my last heavy lifting that I'll do until after the tournament. I just don't want to risk any injury. Anytime you start lifting heavy weights where you're really straining, you're one lift away from an injury, which as a golfer, it doesn't really serve enough purpose to push yourself hard enough. You're not a football player trying to outpower a guy across the line from you. That little bit of extra strength is probably not going to benefit you as much as it puts you at risk for an injury. And if you're injured, you can't swing a golf club for who knows how long. And we all know every day away just seems to put you back further on touch and finesse. So staying flexible with the flexibility. I like to be able to kind of weave my way through the workouts. I like variety. Even on that Thursday, I pretty much label it just explosive workout. I don't want to keep it. It's not going to be just kettlebells. It's not going to be just bands or just sprints or just jumps. I kind of trick it up every week where I do some of the same stuff and a lot of different stuff, different moves, but they're all going to be rotational, explosive, not too heavy golf workouts, higher reps. And again, not taking anything to failure. I don't want to do 5, 6 sets so much on cable archers where you're pulling it till you rotate and getting your back and your obliques and everything in it. I don't want to do 5 sets on each side so that the next day my obliques are just burning and hurting. I'm trying to keep everything moving and just barely strengthening each time. I'm not trying to make any overnight gains that, I'm not getting ready for a bodybuilding show where I have to be as big as I can in 3 months. It's just constant progress, slow and steady. Never break the body down too much so that I'm always ready for whatever event or tournament or whatever comes up. I can go to it like Jeff Flagg said. I'm an athlete. I want to be in the best shape I can. When I'm called on, if something happens, it was technical, it was mental, but it wasn't physical. There was nothing wrong with my body. I had that tweaked. There was no injuries, no pain, no limitations. So that seems to be the easiest one of the 3 to control, the mental preparation and the swing technique. Those are a lot harder to control, but you should have complete control of your body. You just schedule in time for it. It's not something you have time for, you make time for. I wake up at 5 o'clock a lot of those mornings to do my workouts because I've got other stuff, I've got kids, and that's the only time I know I'll get it in. But I've got to do it. Like, it's just there's no excuse not to do it. And I know how much better I feel, how much better I can hit the ball. And I think it's something that even if you're not an athlete, if you're not competing in anything, you need to be doing foam rollers, stretching, different movements that loosen the body up, or you're just going to continue to lose mobility every day, and it's going to be simple stuff, bending down to pick up a grandkid or a son, or a ball hits over the fence and you reach for it and you just pull a muscle in your body because there's just no elasticity at anything. Everything's so tightened up and shriveled that simple things give you injuries, and you go, oh, I can't play golf anymore. It hurts my back too bad. By the third hole when I'm putting, my whole back's just aching. It's just because there's too many tight things in there that just need to be loosened up and balanced out right. So making sure everything stays balanced. Muscles hold bone in place, and if your muscles are weaker on one side than the other, something's going to rub, a tendon, a ligament, something's going to get pulled or stretched or pinched, and you're going to feel pain from it and limitations, and then think, well, heck, I can't go do a workout because my back hurts. Well, no, your back hurts because you don't go do your workout. So you need to start slowly getting back in on the treadmill, on a bike, something that doesn't have impact, warming back up, and then working your way back into the workout. You'll notice that it just opens up all the doors.
Hey, I just want to talk, since you just mentioned that, because, some of the players on here, there's some players we have on here that work out quite a bit, that definitely do the right workouts. And then we have players that don't work out on here at all. And then we have, the players that maybe potentially doing the wrong workouts. And so one of the things that we found that, for golf is we run into a lot of runners. And most people don't know this unless you're an actual runner and you've done it for a long time, long distance runner. You'll run into more injuries as a runner. So if you're a physical therapist, your number one client is runners. It's not football players. It's not basketball players. It's not soccer. It's runners. And it's because of the impact. And I think it's really important to talk about. And here's the thing when I think about golf fitness for most people on here. Now, we do have some tour players on here, and for those that change, the game changes a little bit. But in general, you have to look at like my time. Like I just finished a vinyasa workout tonight. I have to schedule that, and I don't have a lot of time to do all this stuff. I can't go train, like a pro, 2 hours in the morning, an hour after recovery at the end, like a tour player. And the average person on here can't do that. They don't have time for it.
Right.
You got to make sure that you spend the time. So if you're out, my point is, getting after all this stuff is, if you're out doing isometric lifts or you're out running all the time, running is going straight. So if you think of running, if you're looking at Jonathan Bird right here, if he's picturing coming at you, he's running in a forward plane. There's no rotation involved. And if there is, you'll probably get injured. So running really doesn't do a whole lot for you. I mean, cardio it does. You're going to benefit from cardio, but you have more potential to injure your back, your knee, your IT, ankles. I think if there's any runners on here, they can vouch for that. If there's any PTs on here, they would certainly vouch for it, because that's their number one client, typically as an athlete, is runners. And so impact, you got to make sure when you spend your time. That's why kettlebells are so good. And I preach about them all the time, because it's not about, you don't need being that I got to travel around and be out on the PGA Tour and as a coach, and going into the gym and seeing how players are working out. They're not throwing around all these weights, all these big numbers. They're just doing the basic TR. They have good, healthy joint function. They're not out there doing P90X before a golf tournament. They're not out there, busting all this stuff, high-intensity workouts. They're in maintenance mode, but they're always doing something every day. And it's for joint health, whether it be for for the strength of the joints, the connection of the joints, the coordination of the joints, the flow being the coordination, connection to the earth. Those are the top things. So working with Swiss balls, TRXs, kettlebells, those things don't hurt you. They help you. They make you healthy. And a big part of this performance that we try to teach is not just about playing golf. I mean, I think that most people on here, you're doing the right stuff. You're going to improve your time and all this. But I tell you, if you ever want to ruin your golf game, get injured. There's two things that'll run a tour player and that'll also run an amateur. Going in and making radical swing changes will do it. So if you go in and radically change who you are and go about all this crazy stuff and you have 10,000 swing thoughts, you'll probably run your game, whether you're tour player or a beginner, or not a beginner. I would say like a 5 to 15 handicap, that you've had a decent golf game. That's a good way to run your golf game. You have to work within what you do and make what you do better and understand your weaknesses and fix those. Okay, so then you got the other side is have an injury. So if you take, and in past webinars, a lot of players have heard me talk about this. I'm a big believer in that you can't teach confidence. You get confidence through actually performing. You know, you can't fake it. It's delusional if you fake it. That's what the word is for. You're considered delusional if you're faking it. Somebody's got real confidence is actually really performing. And they could be a Tiger Woods, or they could be a Jordan Spieth, or they could be a Jim Furyk, or whatever, or a Jason Day. And if you look at the history of the tour, there's two things. First one is revamping the whole swing, the thing that got you there. That's number one. That'll throw you back if you look at the history of the game. The second one is you get an injury, because what happens is when a player gets an injury, they have all this time. I'll say an injury, not something that's out for a week and they're back. I mean that they're out for 6 months to a year over a back injury, wrist injury, thumb injury, whatever it may be, and that whole time that they're out, they're doubting themselves the entire time. Like, can I come back? Is this going to work? Is this going to? I'm not sure. Now, there are players that have come back from injuries like Ben Hogan and came back stronger than ever because he used visualization techniques while he was in the hospital bed for the entire time. He played golf every single day and mastered kind of what he wanted to do with his game and who he wanted to be. But most people, when they're injured, they start to fear doubt, and these are the best in the world. So imagine an amateur, if you've had a really good I get a lot of players that come to me that they were fantastic players at one time in their life, and they got an injury, whether it be a shoulder or a wrist or whatever, and they just lost it. They went from being like, their club champion to a 12, 15 handicap, and that just drives them crazy because they know what they're capable of. And so you want to focus on, improving, your overall game and your scoring like we talk about, and there's a connection and there's a path that we try to help people find on that road to make themselves better. There's no such thing as a way. There's only one way to do it. There's a million ways to become a great player within what you have. But the other thing that what we're on here tonight for is staying healthy long term. And so going back to running in impact stuff where you're doing really high intensity and you're bouncing around and jumping, you're putting pressure on all your joints too much, you probably eventually you're going to break down a little bit, and you can, and so then on the flip side of it, you have players say, well, I don't want to do that at all, I'm just going to do nothing. And if you don't do anything, your body will probably crack and break as well. So there's a fine line, and that's why I teach this moderation. I believe you should work out. I think you should use lighter weights. You should make sure you have good full mobility. And on our private site, you see our injury prevention page talks about it literally start to finish on your spine, your joint alignments. You have structure, which is your spine. You have alignments, which are your joints. Those work in correlation and respect each other back and forth, just like the club in the body and the golf swing. So when you have good structure, you have good alignments, and you're going to have, for the most part, good health with that. When you have bad structure, so if you're doing lifts, if your structure's wrong, your spine's out of place, if you have forward hip posture, you have forward neck posture, whatever you have, your postures are incorrect, you're going to probably get injured lifting, even if it's a lighter weight. Or like Chris was saying, I think he had a great point because it happened to Wes Short Jr. Just all of a sudden, this guy's got all this talent. He just won on the tour as I think a rookie. He won his first year out, and then all of a sudden he goes down, he starts walking down these stairs, and he said he felt it as soon as he hit the stairs. He felt it catch. That's what his phrase was. It caught, and it was right off the spinal rector muscles off the left side. And I'm telling you, man, I've been around this guy for, I don't know, 10 years now, and I can tell you that when it was before he had his procedure done in Germany, when there would be times where we'd go out to do seminars or whatever it was, or just to train on our own, he'd go, oh, it's there, it just happened. And when he would say that, I would say, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, it just caught again. And I'm telling you, it would swell up like a baseball right off the left side of his spine, and he could not move hardly. I mean, we'd have to go in through the psoas and dig it out. We were doing all kinds of stuff just to get him back where he could basically function. But as far as competing, you can't play against the best players in the world. You got no chance. And the only reason why he's on the tour right now, and he'll tell you, the only reason why he's back on the tour right now and having success is because his back's healthy. We had a conversation one night that it worked more in the mental game, and I probably won't go into it too much, but it was one night where he called me and he thought the whole show was over for him. And I remember having a long conversation about him. You can't think like that. I want you to do this, this, and this, and this as far as mental and talk yourself and, whether it's pray or meditate or whatever it is. And he did it. And I'm telling you, as soon as he did those things mentally, I think it was within a year after doing, or 6 months after he started doing that, he had got a call. I don't know if it was from BJ or if it was from Freddie Couples, whoever it was, that told him, hey, this procedure, you should need to do this procedure in Germany. It's what everybody's doing, and it's, making our career longer. Because, again, it's all about health. And so this guy goes from being, not able to play golf for 8 years to having a procedure done in Germany to all of a sudden, then he comes back out. He plays 1 year on the tour, gets a little experience. He was out so long. He was 49. He comes back to the tour. Next year, he's on the Champions. He wins Q School by, I think he shot 20 under, set a tournament record, goes out, wins the first year. I believe, he won the first year, I believe, or it was the second year. But anyway, he got his win. He almost won last week, and he's made well over $1 million since coming back. But it's through being healthy, and it's also, but it cost him, that injury cost him millions, because I'm telling you, he won his first year. This guy would have won. He would have been one of those guys that wins every year. He wouldn't have won probably 10 times a year, but he sure had the talent to. And I've been around a lot of great players, but there's only one guy that I've seen that I go, that is what. If you want to see somebody that's natural, that just got it, this man has it. But an injury took him out, and he couldn't. I'm telling you, he'll tell you right now, he couldn't bust 80 whenever he got injured. So if he can't bust 80 when he's injured, what's an amateur going to do when they're injured? Or most of them don't know that it's not even about the injury. They're playing like they're injured because they are so physically limited in the thoracic region and in the glutes and in the lower core. They're so limited in those areas. They're playing like somebody that's really injured. And I think Chris would maybe agree with that. If not, that's okay. But that's my beliefs. And so you have to be really, it's about health is in joint function and structure with the spine, and that's the goals, and then so you have longevity, so you can perform. I know I went off a little bit there, but hey, Chris, I wanted to ask you real quick. I thought I got some notes here about sleep recovery, because we had a conversation. I think it was 2 nights ago. I told we had our kind of private webinar, and I told the guys, I said, the biggest fear I ever have is whenever you have an elite player, tour player, tell you that they didn't sleep the night before. Like, I just didn't sleep all night. I had nothing. When they tell me that, that's like, oh my gosh, hey, that's not good, because you can't say that. You can't really fake that. There's some meditation techniques you can do that day to help them recharge, but that's always secondary to the truth, which is sleep. If you can sleep, you got an advantage. If you're not, in my opinion, if you're an athlete, could you touch on that a little bit about some of the things that you know about it?
That's something that was really engraved into my brain from the bodybuilding world when I got into that first. And I was working at USA Fitness in Mesquite, Texas, and they were all power lifters in there, and I was trying to gain weight. I was always real skinny and always trying to gain weight, trying to get bigger. Well, if you want to get big, you got to eat big, lift big, and sleep big. It's that simple. All right. So going through detailed, it was like I said, eating the 5 meals, lifting heavy weights, but sleep big. He said 8 to 10 hours every night. You're lifting heavy. You're putting your body through extreme. It's basically you're tearing it up. You're ripping the muscles. You need to give those muscles time to repair. Most of that happens at night. They say men produce 80% of their testosterone at night while they sleep. So if you lose out on that sleep, not only are you losing out on producing most of your testosterone for that cycle, but all the repair, all those muscles that you tore up aren't getting the proper repair that they need. So you're going to not even wake up, I guess. You're just going to go straight into the next day with that weak, exhausted feeling because the body just never had its time to come back and rebuild. Working out, you're not getting the gains while you're in the gym or while you're swinging the kettlebell. It's afterwards when you're putting the nutrition back in your body and letting it rest. Your body's basically saying, hey, this guy just came in and tore us up. He made us hurt. He put little tears in the muscle fibers. We need to get stronger, let the muscle fibers be stronger, and work together so that doesn't happen again, so the body repairs itself, rebuilds itself so that you can't tear it up the same way with the same movement. You'll have to add reps or add weights or add something because the body's just, made itself a little stronger, but that all happens during rest periods. So, yeah, sleep is huge. 8 to 10 is next to impossible for anybody to get. Arnold Schwarzenegger, everybody knows him, bodybuilding, champion of the world, that he was giving a seminar the other night and saying that everybody has the same 24 hours a day. You got 6 hours of sleep, and if you're taking longer than that to sleep, then I tell you, you need to hurry up. You need to sleep faster. I know he was kind of joking because, he's got to know the importance of rest, but you want that 6 to 8 hours minimum. Anything less than 6, your body's just not going to get what it needs out of it. Even 6, if you're getting 6 every night, I'm sure by the end of the week you're feeling more drained and it's harder to get out of bed. So perfect world, we don't have to wake up to alarms. You'd get to probably 7-hour sleep cycle, 7.5-hour sleep cycle, and you'd want to get up anyway. But yeah, sleep's one of the most important things that was engraved into me back when I was 18, 19 years old, just starting in the gym world. That's when you grow. That's when your body rebuilds. And if you're going to perform well, you can't go out there. Nervous energy is going to come from anybody. It doesn't matter what level athlete. Even Jason Zubak, in my world, the long drive world, he's the king. He's won the championship more than anybody else, won more tournaments than anybody else. I watch him out there at a regional tournament in Texas trying to tee his ball up, and his hand was still shaking a little bit. I'm like, all right, so he's still got nervous energy. When you have that adrenaline going into an already weak body, you're going to feel faint. You're going to feel almost disoriented because now you've got adrenaline pumping into a what was kind of weak or faint body already. It's gonna mess with you mentally, I think, as far as how well you feel like you're going to perform. And when you start having self-doubt, then you're pretty much going to play like you think you're going to play. So yeah, that was going back to something you had touched on a minute ago too, just the injury. To me, even if you're not doing the workouts, nobody should ever swing a golf club without stretching, and you should never stretch without doing warm-ups. So even if you're not wanting to do gym time and kettlebells and yoga and all these other beneficial things, then you should never go out and just start swinging a club. A chiropractor would love you as a patient just because that's, back and forth on your spine without doing anything to warm it up. It's just not a good idea. If you've been sitting in an office chair, pretty much whatever you've been doing that day, unless you've been throwing bales of hay and already doing that rotating motion, you need to start warming the spinal erectors up, getting it so that you're not just trying to throw this move onto something it's not ready for. So I have a 15 to 20-minute shoulder circles, marching in place, sitting down, stretching all my hips and my hamstrings and glutes, and just trying to make sure I'm loose before I ever even pick up a golf club. And then it's still swinging some golf clubs short and starting with wedges and working my way up. But I don't know how many guys I'll be out there and I'll watch them come in, pull their driver straight out of their bag and start hitting drives straight from their car to their driver. And it's just like, man, you wonder why you're hurt, and you wonder, you do that and you pull something, and now you just took 3 months off because you pulled something in your back for not taking that extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes just to make sure you're warm and loose and injury-free. I mean, you want to be preventing injury is the biggest thing. Keep yourself healthy.
Yeah, so I'm going to give Pop. Can you see the screen in general, Chris?
I see a guy standing there at a dress.
All right.
A wooden deck behind.
So we're going to go. I'm just going to pop up a couple, just the old kettlebell, good old kettlebell swing here, and that's the backswing portion of it. And some of the things we talked about with the kettlebell swing is, again, the thoracic region, being flat and correct, hinging the hips backwards, this way. Basically, when you do this, again, these are the muscles we're going after: the glutes, we're going after the thoracic, and then as you see, as he does the upswing, even here, there's core contraction here, not near as much as when he gets to the top. But these three areas, that's one of the reasons why you see so much of on our private site that I talk about the kettlebells and then how to actually do them, because just swinging the kettlebells, probably most people will turtle up the posture like we talked about the other night. They'll turtle that up. They squat more than what he's doing here, so they won't hinge the hips backwards this way. They'll squat straight down. The bell will be a lot lower. It won't get through like hiking a football here. Like you can see, he's hiking that. It looks like he's hiking a football. There's just a lot of things that if you do it right, like he's doing here, you're going to activate these core muscles, the lower core. You're going to get the thoracic region flatter. So you're really, you're hinging the hips backwards, so you're getting that glute activation, but you're also getting depth in the hips. So if you could picture him not swinging a kettlebell here, you can see, like, if he stood up a little bit taller, which halfway up in the swing he would be, he would have that posture and that depth that you see with those tour. And so, which I think is, well, that's part of what we teach, and you can't fake that. I mean, you can't, if people out there, that's one of the big problems is when people are in their backswing, there's so many people talking about squatting in their in their transition and out of their transition versus sinking, and there's a huge difference. If you're squatting in your transition, you're probably not very good. If you're sinking, the sinking is more of a gradual movement. Squatting is kind of just, if you can picture, just kind of a violent one frame or just a drop squat or whatever. It's just, it kills the energy. I'm not saying doing squats are bad for you. That's not what I'm saying here. But when people, the way you reference terminology, like Harvey Pinnock was the best of all time at this. The way you say something can capture the way somebody moves. And so, like he would never say, like Harvey Pinnock would never tell anybody to choke down on the club because it referred to choking. So, I mean, he would say, place your hands gently on the club, lower your hands gently down on the club. And that would reference a way of thinking for the player that was a lot more efficient than just choke down on the club. They just think, all right, okay, choking could be squeezing the crap out of it. Choking could be, actually choking, getting pressure. So it's really odd, but I mean, I'm a believer in that. So I think it's really important in how you the terminology you see gradually sink in your golf swing in that transition, that float zone we talk about. This here is the depth, though, that you're trying to create. Now, your chest won't be this far down, obviously, in your golf swing, but if you could picture his chest, there's a lot of different areas, but if you had, it would be a little bit, that's where he's at now, but if you had it more right in this area, and there's a lot of gray areas there as well, but you can see he's really creating depth, and that's getting his brain to understand. That's why when you do this, it's important that you do it right. If you don't do it right, well, you probably do it like you do your golf swing. You'll have your hips tucked under, forward, and you'll turtle up this way through the spine. You'll kind of roll your spine and so forth. So I think that's really important how you do it. And then, so if you watch kind of the upswing and you look at the next frame, this is the top of the swing. I'll see if I can bro this, get this in a little bit more. But you see when he's at the top of his swing, what you don't see what he's doing here is that his cores work, the right side of his core and the left side of his core are trying to work in towards each other here. His glutes are squeezing from the back here. And so what that does, it gives him core activation. It gives him this really strong alignment, rooting through the heels. So he's not rooting through the toes. He's actually rooting through the heels. And by slightly bending here at the spine, that engages that lower core better, and it strengthens the back. It also gives mobility, and then having this straight alignment out. So again, we have all that, how to do it on the website. So on the private site, the private side is about injury prevention first, understanding what neutral spine, forward head posture, that's the most common, understanding the lower lumbar, and then a controlled thoracic through retraction techniques. And if you study that and you train it and you measure, use your video and you study yourself, you'll start to see, obviously you won't be doing it, but if you start to adapt to that, you'll start feeling when you get your spine correct, that you will start rooting into the ground. Like you'll start feeling more energy into the ground just standing neutral without trying to put force in the ground or anything else. You'll just start feeling more connected to the ground. And that's where all your lifts should take place. That's where every movement you make should be through as close to neutral and strong posture as you possibly can. And it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, the people that I see, even the ones that train a lot, it may be one out of, 500 that actually train in really good posture. And one, it's because it's really hard to do, and two, it's because most people have no idea what it really is. So because your core is engaged does not mean that you're in neutral posture. I can tell you that. You can have your core engaged and have your forward head posture and be putting all the pressure up to your neck, or you can have your core engaged and you can have a bridge in your lower spine, kind of an S posture, cut the lower lumbar, and all of a sudden it will just take that one lift that you go to grab a bell or you go lift a swing one day and you're down for a week because your back's hurt. So it's very important on understanding neutral posture. in my opinion. So this just gives you, there's better references and videos that I have with this, but this is the basics of just the kettlebell swing. And where the reason why we do it, because of the areas that it hits the core, obviously shoulder mobility, you're getting the thoracic, you're getting the glutes, you're getting everything fired at one time with one lift versus trying to do those isometric, you know. And remember, the golf swing is, you're also, this is called a kettlebell swing, so he's swinging that through his legs back up. So it's, you know, it's a motion versus just, you know, kind of this real slow lift up and this real slow lift down, like a bicep curl, etc. So anyway, I just hope that I could go on all night about kettlebells and the benefits of it. The biggest thing is that I just think the players that we teach that do it play the best, and the ones that don't do it don't. So, and Chris, I know you just put on here, I'm a big believer. I'm going to turn it over to you, but yeah, I've got that on one of the videos, like and you had touched on it earlier, not getting doing the kettlebells I'll start everything. Like even when I do yoga sessions, before I go to my yoga class, which is about 5 minutes away, I'll go in there and do 10 minutes of kettlebells, because I want my heart rate up. So when I get in that class, I can really move. I mean, I can really open up and get into the joints and the weak spots that I have and the hot spots, and really do that. But Chris, if you will take over kind of on getting the heart rate up and how that helps and so forth.
Yeah, it's like I said, that you never want to stretch a cold muscle. Just think of it as a guy. I was watching a video the other day, and he explained it as a rubber band that you stuck in a freezer. And if you pull it out of the freezer and try to stretch it, it's just going to pop. That's the same thing. Muscle fibers are like ropes wrapped around each other, going from one bone or joint to another, and they're tight. And they're trying to pull against each other, pull from end to end to make the muscle smaller. So if you go in there to start, that's what the tightness is, or the soreness you feel, is that muscle's got lactic acid build up on it. The muscle's been it's shortened. And if you just go in and start lengthening that right away, it's going to pull back against that, and the weak point's going to, you know, pop. You might make a little bigger tear in the muscle. You may pull something off a joint. It may be the ligament, the tendon, something that's connected is going to have to give. Usually it's not the muscle. So the difference between stretching and warming up, before you ever start trying to lengthen the muscles, you want to do something like a pretty fast-paced walk, marching in place. Something that's not too hard on the body, but something that's going to get the whole body moving, get your heart rate elevated, so that you get right to the point of a light sweat on your forehead. You can even, I mean, breaking down to sweat's not bad, but you don't want to waste all your energy in the warm-up, but you just want to make sure that before you've done anything, your heart rate is elevated, you've got a light sweat on your body, your whole body temperature is elevated, which is going to loosen the muscles. It gives them the ability to be stretched or pulled upon, and they're not going to pull back. They'll go with it. They'll lengthen. That being said, you still never force a stretch. So even if you've done a proper warm-up and you're doing stretching, you're going to find limitations in that stretch. You're going to find a point where it's like, man, my muscle's really feeling like it's pulling back, but I'm warm. That's just the end of that stretch that day. You never force through it. You always try to deepen it. Breathing the whole time, deep breaths in, deep breaths out, and when you're exhaling, you try to go into the stretch a little deeper. Breathe back in and come out of it, breathe back out and go a little deeper, but you're not forcing it. You're just kind of letting gravity and letting the muscle relax, and you'll start getting a mind-muscle connection if you stretch enough, because you'll feel that tightness, and you'll start realizing that I can loosen a lot of that up just with my mind, by telling my mind, let that muscle loose, and you can get a lot of the stretching will help. Just getting that mind-muscle connection where you can feel, all right, I can tell it's in my right tricep. Oh, there it is. I can kind of relax that and then get into the stretch. But, yeah, you always want to do something, no matter what type of activity it is. Foam rollers are a very, very great way to encompass all that. You do your warm-up and your stretching at once. Rolling around on the foam roller, there's myofascia that gets caught up, scar tissue, that bunch of stuff, same kind of just lactic acid. Basically, your muscles are getting knotted up, catching. There's different things pulling. You can roll around on a foam roller, and the areas that really are painful, that's where you need it. That's where there's a lot of stuff caught. Breaking that up is going to stretch the muscle while you're warming up, because you're using your own body to move yourself around. It's just a little piece of foam that you're pulling your hamstrings back and forth, or pushing with your hands, or however you're doing it. You're using your body weight. You're pushing your body weight around. That's going to elevate the heart a little bit. That's going to get your body temperature warm. But while you're doing it, you're also stretching out muscles Foam roller is something everybody should have, especially golfers. They're $25 or something. You keep it around the house. Wake up in the morning, just hop straight on the foam roller. Roll your hamstrings, roll your low back. You'll hear it pop. You'll hear things move around. You'll feel it, and you'll stand up and just like, wow, I feel a lot better already. You just loosened up and got everything that was catching to stop catching. There's a lot of different ways to warm up, but you always want to warm up for your stretch, and you don't want to get just don't want to get into doing anything too fast. You want to let the body, like a car on a cold morning, let it start, warm up some, and then you start driving it. You don't just jump in, throw it in gear, and take off at something liable to pop or break. Kettlebells, yeah, going back to those, like you said, we could talk about them forever, but it's just the best. You've got one little ball of steel that you can take with you anywhere. I don't know how many times I've known my schedule wasn't going to allow me to get to the gym. I throw my kettlebell in my truck. I find somewhere, maybe it's at my lunch break, 20 minutes with a kettlebell, that can be excruciating. If you're doing swinging and snatches and two-hand swings and one-hand swings, and there's all these different movements you can do with them, but you can get your full cardio, your fat burning, your core, strength training, flexibility. It does everything all at one time. You feel like you walked out of a chiropractor's office when you get done with these things, because it does the eccentric and concentric motion of every muscle. It's the flexing and the extension of every muscle gets used throughout this, so you're not doing any of that. I did a whole bunch of curls, and my biceps are real tight. You did both sides of the motion, so when you walk out of it, you're not ever feeling like, man, it's just my chest is really tight or just my back. Your whole body just aligned itself properly by pulling against each other to stabilize this bell that's swinging back and forth. So.
Right here we have the, like the one-arm swing here, and what I like about, the two-hand swing really gets, you don't get a lot of rotation. I mean, that's not what it's designed for, the one we looked at first, but the one-arm swing, you do get like the golfer's rotation, and it's another, this will be the last one we kind of go over. I mean, we could go over exercises all night, the ones that work, and there's also, I could go on all night about the ones that don't work. There's more that don't work, in my opinion, in golf than that actually do work. And which is weird, because there's so many exercises out there. You can get overwhelmed when you start training, like, where do I start? And that's what we try to do on the private side. We try to guide you, like, this is what the best in the world do, and even if they're not, they're probably missing out too, because I'm telling you, this is what they should be doing. They're specific to what you're trying to build as an athlete for your sport. And so if you look here, as he's going back, if his shoulders were low, like if you look over here on his left shoulder here, you can see this part of a one-arm swing. The other freehand swings backwards. So when he springs backwards, that's going to open up that scapula of the shoulder. It also opens up the chest. So he's getting range of motion on this side. Well, guess what's happening on the other side? Same thing. And then they'll change. They switch. And so you're also getting, if I erase this, rotation of the thoracic portion of the right side of the spine here on this particular lift. So this portion of the spine, the right side, is getting stretched. It's not square, because you can see, common sense, the shoulders have rotated from square. Square would be right here. So he's rotated the shoulders, but he's kept his hips, you can see, really square to where he's aiming. Both hips are square to where he's going. So he's getting stable lower body, mobile upper body, and that is what golf is. I mean, that's as far as training. I'm not telling you swing thoughts or any of that junk or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, you want to train like this. You want to train stability in lower and mobile in upper, and vice versa, so that your brain and then in your golf swing, they coordinate together. But in general, this is how you would want to train. You're going to open up more mobility. You're going to get more core activation in that lower core region that we talk about, the oblique section. And then if you look at the upswing, where the finishing position here is really not a position, because it's a swing. He's going to continue to swing unless he stops it. When he's here, it's got full activation of that whole spine. It's really, and it's rooted. Now, pictures don't do it justice, but somebody that trains in this understands. I know Chris understands how to root, and you root from the heels in kettlebells. And you can root from the heels in golf and as well. I mean, there's guys that play up through their heels that play great. We talk about rooting through the balls of the feet being the strongest, but in kettlebells, you root from the backside. Well, rooting from the backside, if you can picture, if I go back over, I'm going to go back and pull somebody up down the line here. Let's go pull up somebody that knows what they're doing here. We're going to pull up Tiger's. Tiger, see. Well, let's see here. So this side, what rooting is, so when you see all this stuff, when you go back, again, most people cannot get, their neutral spine like this, like he's got right here. But I'm going to show you by turning. Here's that thoracic turning. You can see the whole right side, his whole right side's turning through that thoracic portion of the spine here. And then depth is, if you watch, here's that kettlebell swing. He's rooting through his heels here. So he's deep this way. He's got energy, but the club is out in front of him. So he's not rooting deep and then, pushing his head back this way and losing his posture. He's rooting deep through his hips this way, just like you saw in the kettlebell swing, but he's got the balance of the club through the middle of his body, and that's what we talk about. That's most optimal. And most people, they don't root through their hips like this, through the hinging. They push their hips forward and up this way, and then they kick their head backwards like this. They bring their head back in a back bending posture, and that makes their spine vertical, and then the club either lays down or it tips forward and throws out the energy, or it can even twist and do all of it at the same time and go out and away from them. So that's why when you do this stuff that we're talking about, when you see these high-level players that can root from the backside, but also keep the club in front of them and really stable, it's most of this cause they're either it's a God-given talent, but also they're training the right muscles to do this. If you're training incorrectly, you're gonna, like, if you're doing isometric training or no training at all, you're probably going to be too rounded. You're going to come out of your posture. You're going to throw the club away and so forth. And that's why I think it's so important, like we talk about in the internal arts, the Tai Chi and Qigong that we do, that if you have a Qi block, which could be muscular tension, muscular overtraining, whatever it is, it blocks energy from going from one joint to the next joint, and so that throws off the coordination and the connection pattern. So in Tai Chi or Qigong, there's three things you try to build, that, like the three essentials right off the bat. First, you got to get the Qi flowing. I mean, the Qi to build up, and so a lot of it is if you're doing an internal art practice, you also might spend the first 5 or 10 minutes just getting the flow and starting to feel the Qi build up between the hands and the whole body, become kind of energized and so forth. Now, if you don't train in this, it may not make sense. But if you can do that, you start to feel this energy. And when you do, the next thing that you try to do is you try to coordinate the movement. So coordination would be just like, like Tiger swing here. So coordination would be the flow of it. So he's got the energy. So now he's going to make a flow out of it. And then the last portion of it, which is the most advanced, is where I think kettlebells do both of these, is connecting it. So you get the system energized through rooting properly, having good structure and alignments. You have the flow of the swing, and then you have the connection of the joints. And with that being said, if you take a player, like I was talking, I think Chris and I were talking about one of my players tonight that's got this big frame, and Morgan, he may be on here or not. I'm not sure. If he's not, I don't know if he's on here. No. But anyway, he's got this big frame, big athletic frame, but his joints are too loose. They don't connect with each other. So he's got like the Qi, or he's got the flow, and he's got all that, but he doesn't have the connection from joint to joint, and you can see it. So it kind of looks floppy and flimsy a little bit in transition, and it's a little loose and all. And that's where, like, tightening up the muscles for somebody like that and connecting them so that they all kind of match. Those three things come together. You have the Qi, you have the flow, and you have the connection. That's the most elite. And so you can be flimsy and play phenomenal golf. You can be tight and play phenomenal golf, but to play long-term healthy and be kind of like that elite level, if you look at the Adam Scotts, the Tiger Woods, the Rory McIlroy, he's got some of that looseness, but he's tightened it up through his training. Jordan Spieth plays with all three. The Henrik Stenson, you could just go on and on and on. It doesn't mean you can or can't play. I'd rather see somebody too loose than too tight, and I'd rather see somebody that has too much speed than not enough speed. Those are things that you hope for, because you can tighten up the looseness and you can take away that can build control into the speed. But if somebody doesn't have understanding for the speed and they're just physically stiff as a board, it's going to be a process. I don't care who's teaching them. You can name who you want. It doesn't matter, and it's going to be a process. If you're tight and rigid and you can't create flow and coordination, you got a long road ahead, and you better start dumping those muscles like Chris was talking about earlier. You better start letting those muscles elongate and start doing practices that make your muscles elongate and opening. And if you don't have speed, you better start adding strength to your training so you can create speed. And I don't talk about speed a lot. I actually never talk about it because I think a lot of my players on here know that I've said that, if you come to me for a golf lesson, you're never going to hear me talk about create more speed, more speed, more speed. You're going to hear me create more torque, more torque, more torque, because that's something that we can control. And the torque is you can't have speed. Now remember this, you can't have speed without torque. So why work on speed? Because people are working on speed without torque. They're just working on this, it's like taking off in fifth gear in a manual transmission. You're just taking off in fifth gear in floorboard. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to dump all your energy out because you're using the wrong energy in the wrong parts of the club and the body, and so there is no torque. My whole philosophy is based on torque, and so, but the torque converts into speed. So when you have these slow, powerful rolling movements, circular movements that we teach, they become very, very, very powerful when it hits something. And so, but without, this forced, whipping and all this crazy stuff. Now what Chris has to do is a little bit different. He has to have torque and speed because he's got one option. He's got to hit it, 400 yards in the air. You're going to see more output in speed and what he does. But as golfers, and you're just playing golf, if you just play with, if you can get your body to function with high level torque, it takes a while to process, and you're not putting force output, but then you're getting the same distance. That's like the optimal, and that's what we try to teach you. Now, in reality, you're going to have to probably play with both and some of this and all that. But if you're trying to put speed into it and force into it and output, good luck. Because you're just going to use the wrong muscles. You're going to use the club head to throw it, and you're going to use your body to spin out of it, and it's just going to be a disconnect, and you won't do good. If you keep that internal energy and that torque in your golf swing and fight it, you'll have more efficiency and output and connection to the ball, to the face, and that torque at impact will be much, much, much better. And so even in the fitness training, all we're trying to do is create torque. Kettlebells create torque in your body. They create kind of like this balloon effect, like in Tai Chi, you talk about filling up this balloon. Like in Fa Jing, it's whipping. It is a form of whipping energy, but it's all torque first. You fill up your lungs, and it's like when you sneeze, it just comes out and it just pops, right? But it's just torque that you got to have the torque before you have the speed. So most people don't. So they're trying to put output when you're trying to pop a balloon when you haven't blown it up yet, and that's why it's inefficient. So kettlebells create torque, yoga creates torque, Tai Chi creates torque, TRX can create torque. Things that'll take away from torque is not training at all, being injured, or overtraining, or overlifting, isometric lifts, overhitting the upper body and the muscles, so you lose that flow from the upper body, so you can't create those contractions and that torque. So, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this discussion tonight, was because to convert your techniques and how you're training, you really need to add, not only just forget golf, just for your general health, learn how to get good joint function for your balance as we get a little older, and some of those things. But I know I kind of went on a little bit there, but like I do have a passion for good joint health, and that way that you don't have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger to play our game, thank goodness. But you can't judge a book by a cover. Like Fedor Emelianenko, he's one of the greatest MMA stars of all time. He's kind of got this old big belly, and he's not like got this six pack and ripped up, and he's one of the best mixed martial artists of all time, if not the greatest. And but all he did was functional training. He's from Russia, and these guys, it's crazy how they train. But it was all functional, so he's got beautiful joint function and coordination and connection and the things we've talked about, and that's what you want as an athlete. Maybe not that you look perfect. That's not really the goal. The goal is that you can function to the highest level that your body is capable of. I mean, in relative to what you're trying to do too. So, let's see. Hey, Chris, could you go over kind of like your nutrition, kind of what you eat daily, and some of those things, how you feel your body and all that? Because I think it's important, and the things that you add in that you're able to do. But of course, you train a lot more than everybody on here, really, probably, that I know of. But could you talk a little bit about that and some of the things like the brain foods that we know engage better brain activity, which therefore increases your mental clarity and your your durability, but also your being out on the golf course and not fatiguing?
Yeah, again, I pretty much try not to get so specific. I've done the diet plans where I grill on my chicken and broccoli and rice on Sunday night and have the whole meal set up for, hard-boiled eggs and know when I'm eating what, and I've got everything measured out and every calorie, and it's draining. It's not something you can maintain, and it's just not necessary. To me, it's more about just maintaining consistency. Like I said, consistency and intensity in everything you do, but just making good choices every day, every meal. I always start, my first focus is protein. I know that's the building block of muscle. That's what repairs everything. That's something that can't be stored as body fat, and that's what keeps me in a anabolic state where I'm able to build muscle and burn fat. So protein is my first focus. I want lean proteins, grilled chickens, fish, pretty much anything that comes out of the ocean is going to be good for you. That's, one of the better places to eat, maybe not cholesterol, but as far as cleanness of the food, fish and chicken and turkey and lean proteins. I still eat steak. I eat red meat because I'm American and I love red meat, but just getting the protein in, I look for my 30, 35, 45 grams of protein first, and the next thing I go to is vegetables. Green vegetables are something that most of us don't get enough of. You want carbs, you just complex ones, and green vegetables, broccoli, green beans, asparagus. I don't eat them necessarily because I like them. I just eat them because I know they're good for me, that they're good calories that are going to help me sustain energy without turning into fat. So it's, I'm still caught up in the aesthetic look of it. I'm never going to be able to get away from that. I still do some moves that aren't necessarily beneficial for my golf game, that are almost a waste of time, but it's just something that I still kind of throw in there on my own, knowing I'm going to have to spend extra time to get away from it or to loosen it back up. But after you get into the vegetables, then that may be somewhere where I get into, all right, I've got a good clean protein, I've got a good clean vegetable, and I'm going to throw some French fries in there, or something else that just puts the meal together to make it just, all right, now it's really an enjoyable meal. I like the meat and the broccoli, whatever, and now I've got some other side that mashed potatoes or, something that's not necessarily the most healthy, but it's not a horrible thing either. Primarily, it's just staying away from fried foods and Cokes. Cokes have no benefit at all. There's no reason to ever drink them. Water has tons of benefits. Your body needs water. Helps clean you out, helps flush your system, your skin, it keeps everything going. So try to drink, I try to drink only water, or if I don't drink water, it's juice, sometimes Gatorade if I'm really out doing a lot of exertion. But even Gatorade, you don't need, and for golfers out there at 18 holes, yeah, for your typical workout, no. It's something that's meant for more than an hour's worth of exertion. You're just going to store, there's a lot of sugar in Gatorade, and you're going to store it and it turns into fat. So primarily just water, orange juice or something in the morning, lemonades here or there just to change it up. Antioxidants, different stuff, blueberries, tomatoes. There's any of your fruits and vegetables are going to carry antioxidants, and that's going to help your body to rebuild. Basically, anything that's in there oxidizing or deteriorating the muscles, the body, antioxidants go in there and fight to help recover, get you back in the recovery process. So it's probably stuff that most everybody knows. They just don't want to know it. Eating broccoli is something everybody knows is good for them. They just don't want to hear that as the option they have to eat, or just fruits and vegetables and fish. Pretty much the easiest way to think of food is just think of the outside aisles of the grocery store. Everything that's good for you is on the outside. All your breads, your meats, your natural products, your cheeses, your milks, everything on the outside, that's where the deli is. As you go inside, you start getting frozen and processed and all these other chemicals thrown in it. So it's kind of as simple as when you go to the grocery store, just stay around the outside aisles unless you got to go to the middle and get some condiments or, something small, but seasoning mixes or packets. But pretty much all the good food, they've done it purposely. It's all on the outside. That's all the most natural fruits, vegetables, meats, milks, cheeses, everything that non-processed. So
Yeah.
I try to keep it simple. That's kind of my process with everything, is that I've learned all the terminologies and learned how much most people don't care as far as why it works. They just want to know what works or what's the simplest way to make it work. So that's kind of my mindset on it, is just to try to keep everything simple. It's intensity and consistency and just making smart choices. You know, try to add those meals in where you're getting more meals a day first, and then start noticing that I'm going to, you know, clean them up a little more each meal. Never to the point where I'm miserable and I hate eating because it's just so clean and healthy that I just hate eating, but, you know, somewhat enjoyment in it, mostly clean, good for you. Just make sure you're getting, I eat for benefit more than I eat for flavor. I don't eat because I want this right now. I eat, all right, I know I need to get some protein, I need to get some antioxidants, I need to get some carbs, I need to get these nutrients in my body right now. It's time. It's a time form. It's been 2.5 hours, so let me grab the cleanest stuff I can find right now and put it in me. It's kind of my mentality just throughout the day. Just bananas or almonds or just, there's a million different things you can eat, and you probably know most of them. It's, I hate to say common sense, but I mean, you realize that a piece of fried chicken is not going to be as good for you as a piece of grilled chicken. Broccoli is going to be better for you than chicken nuggets. So it's, you know, it's kind of the stuff that, you know, eating pizzas and Cokes, you're going to feel the effects of it. The bloatedness, it's just a lot of wasted calories that aren't doing anything beneficial for your body. So that's kind of when I think about foods, I think what I need to get benefit from the food. So it takes a while to get to where it's not all about flavor anymore. But I mean, if you're an athlete, you want your body to be an athlete, and you start realizing this guy over here is swinging. You know, I'm a lawn driver. I'm all about swing speed and distance. This guy's swinging faster than me. What's he doing difference, man? If he's putting just that much more time in. Jamie Sadlowski is pretty much the king of our sport. He's 5'11", 175 pounds. He eats good. He's lean. He's all muscle. He's not a huge guy by any means, but he knows the technique and he knows the diet. Just keeps himself as an athlete ready to perform. So it's just kind of a every day. Do you want to be better? All right, what do I need to do better? Do I want to go eat that pizza now, or am I going to do grilled chicken and broccoli? And just try to make, you know, as many of the good choices as you can, and every once in a while you're going to slip, or it's not the end of the world. I hate it when people try to say it's all or none, and I can't eat that. If I eat that, I'll fail. And eat your bowl of ice cream in the middle of it. It's not going to kill you. Just make sure you're putting in the effort, you know, do some exercises, do something to burn those calories, even if just going for a walk with your family. Just calories in versus calories out, and making sure those calories in are, you know, try to get them as many good calories, healthy fruits and vegetables and clean meat as possible. Pretty simple, I think. I say that. It doesn't seem to be that we got a obesity epidemic going on, so I don't know if it's people just really aren't educated on good foods versus bad foods, or if it's just the willpower of, man, that pizza and Coke tastes a heck of a lot better than, you know, tuna and salad. So it's just kind of motivation, and I like to look at motivation in short-term windows. Don't look at it as, all right, I'm trying to, you know, maybe somebody on here is 300 pounds wanting to drop 100 pounds. Don't look at it as, I'm looking at dropping 100 pounds. Look at it as, I'm going to set a little 8-week goal to try to drop 15 pounds and do everything you can in that 8 weeks. And now you're just working on a real short window. It's a lot easier to stay focused on a short-term period goal than it is something that's going to take you a full year. So, all right, I did my 15 pounds in 8 weeks. Now I'm going to do another 15 in the next 8 weeks. And you start seeing those little results and hitting your little goals. Well, shoot, you know, I'm still not eating as clean as Chris said. I still, you know, eat fried chicken 5 times a week. Let me drop that fried chicken down to 4 times a week and see what that does. Let me just every week, little changes here and little changes there, and then all of a sudden it becomes a lifestyle to where, I mean, if I drank a Coke right now, I feel so bloated and just sick to my stomach, I won't want to eat the rest of the night. I'll feel full and gassy, and it's no longer something that I feel like I'm missing out on. If I ever do decide, my wife will have one sitting there, and I'll eat my meal, and I'll take a sip. Like, that's my dessert. I'll just take a sip of that, and that's enough sugar and sweetness that's my dessert for the day. I don't even need anything else. But it's because I've been drinking so much water for so long that my body just now, you know, I used to drink 2 or 3 Cokes a day, and now my body just doesn't want it. It's realized it's just not good, and I don't like the way I feel when I drink it, and just slowly getting into it and working yourself through it a little bit by a little bit and a little bit, and then just you'll notice the results and you'll like it. And again, like I said, I think short-term goals are the easiest way to obtain that, having little windows that you're trying to achieve instead of this massive plan that, you can't see happening or the results you're getting there, but you set such a massive goal for yourself, you're not able to see the progress along the way, so you quit it. Just set the short goals, and I think for a lot of people, it's probably, I'm only eating, I bet most people eat twice a day from that I talk to, so 14 meals a week. I mean, get that to 21 meals a week would be the first goal. 28. You get it 4 a day, it will be better, but that'd be the first thing I'd say, is to start just increasing the meals and eating more frequently, smaller meals more frequently, not as big a portion. Focus on your protein, some complex carb, fruit or vegetable, and just do that frequently, a lot more frequently, instead of eating such big meals once or twice a day. And that it just sets your metabolism, your fat burning metabolism off.
Yeah, one of the things I see, again, if you go out to the highest levels of these best players, is they have their diets in order. But I mean, these are again, it kind of, there's going to be players on here that they're going to follow that, and there's going to be players on here going, hey, I'm just, I just want to get better and so forth. And I understand that they take it serious, but they don't, doing anything 100%. I think that you're exactly right on that. But one of the things that I try to get the players to do is do a journal, because on their diet and how they play the next day relative to it. And I found a lot of success by having players do that, because like you said, if you go have a pizza, you go out and throw down a large pizza and you have a Coke, or you drink some beers all night or whatever, and you go to tee it up the next day, going back to what we talk about the internal arts, that flow, that blockage will be there that next day. I almost guaranteed. Like, you'll be swinging around that bloaty feeling, that heavy, like can't really move, and then you're going to be trying to compensate by trying to turn more and this and that, and so it affects your performance. And so you have to be mindful of when you're playing, what you're trying to do, but journal it. Just see for yourself. I mean, that's the best way to know. I mean, if you go out and play, you go out and shoot 63 to pizza and Cokes, maybe fire away at it. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't see that. But I just see that. I think that most of the time, and they have studies on this, not my studies, but there's been studies on it, that when you feel light and alive, not light being like starving to death, when your body feels light through your core, and it's a really kind of weird thing, but when you feel light in your core, whether you're a lineman that plays for University of Alabama or whoever, you function better, or you're a quarterback, you function better. There's a certain way, when you feel a certain way, you perform better. And it doesn't mean that you're starving. But most of the time when you feel really heavy and lethargic, you won't perform, and especially in golf. And you'll see bigger players. I'm not saying that, because what you don't realize is you see somebody that's bigger out there. One, you don't know their genetics, their makeup. You don't really know what's really going on. They might be that one person that doesn't eat all day when they play, so they play kind of lively, and then at night they go out and they slam a bunch of beers and eat pizza or whatever, and then they come back and, like they said, they're the one time a day guy, versus like a really athlete. Tiger's going to eat that 3-4 times a day, and these Jason Days and these high level and Roy McIlroys, they're really mindful of what they're trying to do, and there's a reason why they do it, why they use these brain foods. But for most of us, you might only play Saturdays, you might play 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know, but when you do, I would track what you're eating the night before. The night before is probably the most important. You don't really want to most people, when they go tee up, don't go throw down 3,000 calories worth of food that I know of. And if they do, they're probably going to perform badly. But, just track what you're doing and see and judge it and change it. If it's bad, change it and start lightening it up a little bit. Try fishing the night before. But I would suggest to anybody trying to do greens, fruits, and like salmon the night before around. I would challenge anybody on here to do that. The night before, have a really light breakfast, kind of a higher protein, and you're going to have some carbs, some light carbs, maybe fruits or whatever the next morning, and then play and just see what you get. If you play better, if you feel more clarity and you feel better, I'm a believer that if you feel better, you'll probably play better. And so I think a lot of it, and then there's cheat days, like I've found success with players too, like, because I've got, there's there's a lot of ways to do this, but I can tell you, like Chris said, it's eating perfect every day is for a rare few. I mean, and, golfers, you don't have to eat perfect. But you should keep it pretty clean in general, in my opinion, because it does affect how you rotate around the spine. Those poisons do get to the thoracic region and then your rib cage, and you don't get to move as well. You don't flow as well through the ball, and also in the backswing as well. So I believe in that, but then I think you should have like 1 or 2 days where you kind of just, let yourself go a little bit. I just wouldn't do it on the days you're going to play. I wouldn't do that. If you're going to cheat and you're a golfer that plays on Saturdays, I wouldn't call Saturday a good cheat day where you go out and throw down a pizza and then go play or whatever. I would say, save it for Sunday night or whatever you're going to do, eat your hamburgers or whatever and all that stuff, and have that one day. I know there's a lot of trainers that do that have had a lot of success, and same here. But and it depends on the level you play at. I think Chris has kind of pointed out to that as well. If you're trying to beat the best in the world, you better be doing a lot of things the right way. I mean, if you're trying to climb that ladder, which there's few players on here that are, you better, you don't have a lot of. If you're trying to beat these guys like this guy on this page right here, back in his day, now it's Jason Day and Jordan Spieth and Roy McIlroy. You either better be loaded with talent, which you better have that anyway, and you also better be doing the right things, also you better be patient, because it took all these players that we're looking at, the days it took Dave. How many years did it take him before you see where he's at the top? How long did it take Adam Scott? How long did it take the McIlroys and the it took them years, even those are the young, those are like the elite of the elite. What about the guys that are coming out, like there's rookies at 40 years old and 35 years old that have been around? But with that being said, that's the same as an amateur should look at it as well. There's not an amateur on here that's shooting on 90 or 100 that should be trying to, you don't want to force it. I mean, it's a process. You're going to try to chip away at this mountain 1% every day that I talk about, and you try to get better. And, your 90s today, there's going to be you get two players right now, same talent, same level. There's going to be one of them that, that probably takes the right process, the right journey, and they get really good really fast because they're doing the right stuff. You're going to have another one that may take longer because they screw around and do the wrong stuff, and they waste time and energy and all this stuff, and they end up, anybody that's a 90 or 100 player should be able to get 5 or 10 shots off their game just because. But then all of a sudden, it's a big difference, though, when you start saying, all right, well, that player that was 90 or 100 to 78 every time they tee it up, which is what that makes, for most people, that would make them very, very, very happy. And as easy as it sounds, 12 shots, if you're going the wrong direction in how you train and how you play, you'll never get there. And it's just 12 shots. I mean, it really isn't that hard. You can get half of that in putting and chipping if you just get decent at it. And that's why we teach a lot of that. But you ball striking, I mean, yeah, you hit more fairways, more greens, guarantee you're going to shoot lower. And so, but it's a process. And all these players, they believed in themselves. And I think the belief, somebody asked me the other day, like, what is it about, what's the difference? Like, what's the difference between the players that become good players and the players that they're just always bad? And I said, I think a lot of it's just desire and belief. So passion about what they want to be, and then belief that they can get there. They're passionate about, like, they believe. The passion is like they know that they're going to be, and they really want to be. They want to be a good player. And so they vision this, and then they do everything in their power to get to that, no matter what. And it's not a big deal. It's just whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. Those are the ones that are going to do it. And the ones that get into trying to become swing lab rats and become perfect with their golf swings and all that, that's not they don't scare me a lick, and they never accomplish. They end up with a beautiful golf swing, and they're playing usually, not anywhere close to their talent potential, because they get obsessed on this lab rat stuff, this range rat stuff. The ones that become great are the ones like we talked about the other night that do the process. Process is playing money games. The process, and a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. I've never met a great player that didn't play money games. They like to compete, and you need to play golf. You have to play matches. You have to play competitions. You have to work on your short game. And now you may only have 2 days a week. You may have 7 days a week, depending on what you do. You may only have 1 day a week. But if you only have 1 day a week, you better be playing some short game, working on your short game and your mental game, and trying to really visualize yourself getting better. if you have 5 days a week, there's different things you do, but it's all short game related and visualization, getting your body to function better and chipping away as you play and then competing. And there's a lot of other things in the process that I won't go into tonight, but we'll be getting into later on the private webinars. But anyway, there's a couple of things on my notes here. The other things that I think that Chris hit on it earlier about training, which there's ways to create natural energy that you have and to tap into what you have inside of you, natural energy, and then you have kind of like the superficial energy, like, if you just think of like coffee or caffeine and all those other things or whatever. There's ways to get energy without doing it naturally, but then they crash on you. If you have your natural energy, somebody like Chris and I like to think of myself as well, I have a lot of energy, and with that, we create our own. You have to go get it. The way you get natural energy is by going and doing stuff. And so, I mean, working outside in your yard, that'll give you energy. Working with a kettlebell, whatever you do that's moving and working and getting your body to move around. Because when it becomes still, it's one of the things they talk about in Tai Chi, is a still body is basically a still mind. So if you're not doing anything with your body and you just sit and you're just always on the couch or you're always just in a desk, and it kind of creates these poisons internally. It's like a pond. It's just like still water versus like a flowing river. The river's cleaner because it's moving. And so a big part of it is just moving around. And if anything, that's why, Chris made the comment earlier, it's like throwing bales of hay, a lot of people are probably joking, but I'm telling you, that kind of lifting, those are the most functional lifts you can do, that we have. And you look at a lot of old farmers, those guys can bend and flex and rotate and twist, and they're strong. And, those are that's really what you're trying to do with golf. Those are the things you're doing. You're bending, you're flexing, you're rotating, you're doing all this stuff, and you're throwing, and and so just the most basic things that we take for granted can be healthy. Just working out in your yard for an hour, picking up weeds, just sweeping and things like that, sweeping for 20, 30 minutes, be blown away at what that'll do kind of rotationally. Like your body just kind of starts to move and unlock, and the fascia breaks a little bit. So I think that creating natural energy is so far more than trying to create that superficial energy where you're trying to throw things in your body to get your mind to wake up, and it'll wake up and then it'll crash. But if you have natural energy, it's more sustained throughout the day, and so you have better clarity, you make better decisions. I think Chris had a great point about, eating more. Like if you eat 2 times a day, to eat 3 times a day, try that. And I think that'll really help. One of the other things, Chris, if you don't mind, I know you probably got to run. I didn't mean to keep you this long, but I think one of the things that it's probably the most underrated thing that we talk about is the importance of sweat. And you'd mentioned that earlier, it's in my notes. I think that, if you're in a gym and you're not sweating, something's probably wrong, being that you're not doing the right anything, or something's wrong because
that's right, anything.
So
I mean, it's
what you think about that?
It's just a sign of exertion. It's one of the first signs that your body is saying, all right, we're getting pretty warm, I got to cool myself down. So you start sweating to cool yourself down. So elevated heart rate, usually elevated body temperature, unless you're working out in the freezer or somewhere really cold, they're pretty much going to go hand in hand. And even then, it's going to elevate your body temperature. Maybe not to, you're in 20 degrees, it may not be enough to sweat, but yeah, the idea, you can monitor your warm up or your looseness by just sweat. If I go do 10 minutes on the elliptical and I'm still dry as heck, then I probably needed to do it a little more intense, or I needed to do something more, because I did get a little warm up in there, but my body's used to it. I've been doing so much so long that even the warm ups take a little bit more to get my heart elevated like I want, or get to the point of actually having a light sweat on my forehead. Once summer comes, that's the best time of year for me. So many people avoid golf in the middle of the day because it's so hot, but man, you walk out there, you're sweating. Your heart's not beating, so it's not the inside warm up, but once you stayed out there for 15 or 20 minutes, done your own little warm-ups or stretches, then you've elevated the body temperature from the outside in. It's going to stay warm the rest of the day. Your body's going to stay loose. You're going to have flexible muscles. You should be playing some of your best golf because there's no restrictions or limitations, or it's going to be less of them, just because you're going to naturally get really loose when you're out there in 100 degrees sweating, and your body's just going to gain that flexibility. But yeah, sweat, when you're doing your workouts, it's something that, yeah, you're, like you said, I say you're not doing anything right, but you're not getting all the benefits, definitely not the respiratory or cardiovascular. If you're not getting to a sweat, you may be building some muscle. But again, we're doing longevity exercises, stuff that builds endurance as well. You're going to start sweating at that. You're going to exert your body to a point that it's saying, hey, I need to help cool it down. He's pushed this pretty hard. And yeah, I think sweating's pretty much part of every workout. And if it's not, yeah, you need to evaluate or adjust something, make something more difficult.
I got one little thing I'd like to say here, and then I'll open up for some questions that we have. Was one of the mentors that I have always talks about is that you control your breath and don't let your breath control you. And so I always keep that in my head when I'm training, is because it's easy when you start you get in pain or you're hurting or you're stretching and you would just quit breathing. I mean, it's just natural for people to not do that, and that's when you want to breathe the most. You want to breathe into that stretch, or if you're doing kettlebells or whatever. But just keep that in mind when you're training on your own, or if you're at your current gym or with your trainer, is just remember you control your breath. And if you're doing wind sprints, and hopefully nobody on here is really doing wind sprints, but if you are, yeah, you're going to have a hard time controlling your breath. But most of the stuff with, your kettlebells, you can control it at a certain level. It'll get away from you. Your cycles will be wrong. You'll probably be inhaling when you should be exhaling and all that. But that's part of learning. It's part of training and just doing elementary stuff like everybody has in the past till they start doing it right. But especially when you get your body heated up and you're trying to stretch into those tight joints and open them up and all that, that's when you really want to learn how to breathe into it and sink into it and feel that stuff opening up. Like Chris talked about earlier, you kind of talk to those muscles and tell them what you want to do, and you breathe into it, and then as you exhale, you really stretch out of that. You really stretch into it, I should say. And you can really deepen your stretches if you do that, if you learn how to breathe. But, I believe that you should learn, you really got to keep that in your mind, is you control your breath and don't let your breath control you, because it will. I guarantee if you're a beginner and you start these process, and everybody started at the same spot, most people when they train, they weren't very good at it, and they just did it longer, and they just like golf, get a little bit better at it, But I think that's really important. And so I think I have more, but I'm not going to do that. I'd like to open it up for questions if we have any, and just feel free to fire away. All the mics are on, so we might have tapped into most of them. I think we covered more than what we were planning today, but if you do, just fire away.
Hey, Chris, I'm actually a little dude, and, we talk a lot about eating, and Matt, you kind of talked about eating light. I'm constantly hungry. So what would be a good food to have during the round, maybe before the round, where I'm kind of not burning all my energy, but still being able to kind of have a snack through the round? I know a lot of bananas and protein bars and all that, but if you had any advice to that.
Yeah, being hungry a lot, it means you probably are eating clean. That's one of the downfalls I found in it. The cleaner you eat, it seems like your fullness goes away a lot quicker. Like Coach was talking about, you feel light, so it's going to give you the athletic feel, but it just kind of makes you think, man, I'm already ready for some more food. One of the best things I found that gets you in the protein, it's a slow eating that gives you the full. Any proteins are supposed to make you feel full. That's one of their jobs too, is protein makes you feel full. So you don't have to have as many calories in order to get the full filling. But mixed nuts with almonds in it, cashews, even peanuts. There's a lot of benefits, antioxidants, and the good fats and stuff in the mixed nuts. And there's a lot of proteins in the almonds too, so you can carry that around. Easy just to snack on. You don't have to open up. The protein bars, I've taken supplements my whole life. They're not regulated. I'm not going to say anything really horrible about them. They're not for everybody, and you really don't know what you're getting as far as the caloric intake or makeup of them either. I still take protein shakes. That's one of my deal. It's almost a meal replacement that I drink on the turn every time. I don't want to go in and eat a full meal. but I'll take, you know, a banana and a meal replacement shake right before I tee off on the 10th hole, just to kind of keep me going. But yeah, my mindset is out there in the course, just try to keep that light feeling, almost a little bit hungry, but not to the point of weak. So yeah, I don't usually eat more than carry a banana with me. I'll have my oatmeal in the morning before I go play. Scrambled eggs or even some hard-boiled eggs, something to get some, you know, good protein in me in the morning, but pretty light, and go play. And I pretty much play almost hungry the whole day, but like I said, not to the point of feeling weak. Just a banana, a bag of nuts, and a meal replacement will pretty much be what I take with me through 18 holes. If it's summertime, then I, you know, take a lot more water. I'll even take Gatorades at that point because you're sweating out so much. The electrolytes, the sugar, you know, everything. It is beneficial at that point. You know, Texas, we're 110-degree day, and you're playing for 3 or 4 hours straight in it. Some kind of fruit drink, I mean, a sports drink wouldn't be a bad thing to have then either. I just always try to keep it real light, man. I don't like to eat out there too much during the round, just small snacks. The protein bars aren't horrible. You just want to research them more and try to find some that are GMP certified. They have different labs now or different certifications that mean that they have been somewhat tested, and they, you know, they're a lot more reliable as far as what's on the label is actually in the product. But yeah, I would mix nuts would be probably my biggest recommendation. Just start finding out what kind of nuts you like. Almonds have a lot of protein in them, but there's a lot of different nuts that do, and they're just a bag of those to take out with you, and they'll hit your stomach and make you feel full for a little bit and give you a little energy.
I just have just want to say one thing on top of that, which I agree with everything Chris said. I would also suggest eating just like some beans, not fried beans or anything like that, refried. Just, you know, some beans. Fiber will help with that as well. So like apples and beans, maybe, you know, small portions of like a sweet potato, something like that. That would also help, I believe. You know, it's kind of keep you a little bit more full, having more fiber. Good quality fiber in your body, and that
fiber definitely makes you feel full.
Yep. So I would just add that in as well, and try that. You know, try adding. You know, don't eat a can of them, but you know, try eating some beans with what you're doing before you go out, and see, and just test it. And do a journal and just kind of see, do what Chris said, and add kind of what we're talking about. Maybe add an apple in, or some beans in, or small sweet potato, not the whole thing, but maybe a quarter of it. See, and just see if that helps.
They have different granola bars and stuff too that they're making now. That's not a supplement company's protein bar. That's chocolate mixed with whatever concoction they've mixed it with. It's more real fruit, or, you know, like Nature's Best, or they'll have a bunch of the whole grains and a lot of mixed nuts or fruits mixed in them with some dark chocolate on it. You're getting your protein through your nuts and your chocolate, not through a whey mixture. So those are awesome when you know it's real foods that you're getting to provide the nutrients rather than just supplementation. I would say that, you know, over the protein bars, go and get some of those health bars that might be mixed with fruits or nuts or something, but you can get, you know, you won't get 30 or 40 grams of protein out of them. You might get 12 grams or 10 grams, but even that's something that keeps your body going where you're not going to start burning muscle. It'll give you, you know, give you some energy and keep you going a little bit longer, but not ever get you to feeling stuffed where you start losing rotation. That's a big thing, is you don't want, like Matt was saying, you get bloated feeling in your stomach, you start losing mobility, and then you start swinging different, and all of a sudden your round goes to heck, and what was it for? Because I had a hot dog and a Coke at the turn. My stomach got weird. And
For sure.
There's a question, a chat question that Mickey said, are there any exercise method books, etc.? Chris, I know you have a book, an ebook, I believe, out as well. I mean, you already put that on there. Yeah, you got it right there. So Chris has got some really good stuff. And then another one, let me just go through here. Another one is Art of Strength. Art of Strength is really, I don't know, man, it made a huge impact in our entire business, because I started it, and when I was training with Art of Strength, there was a DVD called the Newport. And I don't remember how many years ago it was when I started training that, and I still haven't found anything that supersedes that yet. It's a tough workout, but we implement a lot of the things that we learned out of that. But it just really opens you up. I mean, like you feel it. Like there's workouts that you go out and do, and the next day you feel tight, you feel stiff. It doesn't mean the workout was necessarily bad. It's just like you're not like connected and open, and you don't play well. And then there's workouts that you do like that one, like I don't care who you give it to 100 players, it seems like 100 of them play better. Like the day they do the workout, that's very rare. And now the weight you need to use, like there's a lot of debate on this. Now, if you're doing it for general health, there's going to be a lot. Most of the kettlebell experts, and there's some really high-level ones out there. For general health, they're going to tell you need to, if you're a man, to use around 30 pounds. If you're a lady, 15, 20, somewhere in there. 20 is what I found to be most optimal. I'm not going to go into that all night. For male, well, female, it depends, or male, depends on how strong you are. But in general, 20 pounds is like really, really, really good. It's like the magic number that gets the core engaged, but it also creates really high-level mobility. It doesn't build the traps or the delts, so you don't get this overbulking muscles and these upper body chi blocks. You can turn really well, but you have strong legs and you hit the core. It kind of hits all the areas, and you can really control a 20-pound bell. And you're swinging it just like you would a golf club. You can really control it. And I just have found a lot of success by using that weight versus going more than that. I mean, there's people that Chris can do, and myself as well. I used to work out 45, 50-pound kettlebell. I have a 100-pound kettlebell, but it's no needing all that stuff. I mean, if you take a 20-pound, you go to the tour, anybody on the PGA, LPGA, they can do all the 20-pound. You take some of those guys, they can't throw a 45-pound over their head and all this. And so it tells you when you get to that certain level that it's not really necessary. All you're looking for is joint health function and coordination, and it hits both of those areas. If you get too heavy when you start to swing your club, your upper body might get too tight, and you block some of that coordination and connection. And you want coordination supersedes everything. So there's a question that what exercise should we avoid? Isometric would be one. Running is another one. Chris may already answer. There you go. Behind the neck presses. Yeah, I think even like bench presses, I hadn't read all Chris's stuff, but like if you really want to go struggle when you go play, and this is kind of a lead in, but go out and do a bunch of dips, do a lot of pull-ups and a lot of bench press, and you probably struggle. Those things start to get now they will build. They're not bad for your body. I mean, they're phenomenal for your body. And again, this isn't really about like, I mean, when you do a basic pull-up and any of these that I just named, they're not bad exercises, just that they're not good for golf, and you don't need to do them. You don't have to do them to be really powerful and create a lot of energy without a lot of effort. And that's what this is all about. When you start hitting that upper body and all that energy, and like Chris was talking about, that lactic acid starts to get up into that upper body, and those muscles are starting to develop and kind of come up a little bit. That blocks the flow from joint to joint. It goes back to the chi blocks. It blocks those joints, especially during that particular day. Now, you might want to, that's why there's periodizational training, and Chris knows about this as well, and it's different for every sport. But, if you had 3 months where you said, hey, I got 3 months, I'm going to make my body as strong as I am and not playing any golf, competitive golf or whatever, you might come in and you hammer, out these, different lifts and this and this and this, and really build your body up. And then you start to come out of that maybe after that third month and phase out and really just get it really connected and mobile and come out of the strength and go into more maintenance. But, even the tour can't do that anymore. Like they used to have an off season, and even the tour can't do that. If you live up north, northern golf, and you're going to have 6 months off, you don't have anything to do, I wouldn't spend 3 months as a golfer. I would not spend 2 months really trying to get, I would start with joint health function first over anything, getting everything right, the alignments right, the structure right, and then just increasing and increasing and increasing if you're not playing or swinging or hitting balls. Because if you're hitting balls, it's going to ruin your confidence because you're going to hit it bad. So if you just said, all right, I'm going to put down the clubs for a couple months, I might just work my short game, chipping and putting, I would tell you that's an option. But in general, I mean, you just don't – I'll give you an example. It kind of goes against a little bit of what we talked about tonight, but remember, coordination trumps everything. And some people are born with it, and some people have to acquire it. But coordination is what makes you. Coordination is kind of a natural blend of strength and flow or mobility. But I remember a girl that she was about 70 pounds, 80 pounds at most, soft and wet, and she would come out to the range and hit balls, and she would hit it she could hit 270 yards, but she couldn't do she couldn't do a 10-second plank. I mean, this girl's weak, but her coordination, now there's the deal. She was so coordinated, and that coordination trumped that weakness. And so that's why we talk about the, the Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is most all of it is like a flow, right? I mean, it's about flowing, and it's an internal art. So you learn to tap into torques that you find things in your body that you wouldn't find externally, like doing the Olympic lifts or the kettlebells or some of those things. You find those little nuances. Similar to yoga, but there's more flow to it. And that's why I think it's such a great art to transfer to golf. If you know, and the goal here, and again with the Tai Chi, is be a Tai Chi master to be a good golfer. That's ridiculous. But you take what I've tried to do on the private side is take. I don't have 150 postures on there for a reason. I don't teach you Tai Chi. I'm just teaching you essentials of energy within Tai Chi, and showing you it's like Bruce Lee said, you don't need, what's more effective, somebody can kick 10,000 times one time, or somebody that knows one kick and does it 10,000 times and masters it. That's somebody that's deadly. So it's not how many exercises you know. It's about like having one or two that are really specific that cover what you're trying to do, and getting it. And that's what we try to do, is pull the essentials out of the internal arts and show you how to correlate those into that internal awareness into your swing and your game. Because essentially these guys, they have this high level of internal awareness, and Chris touched on that earlier about understanding yourself and listening to yourself. That's internal awareness. Somebody says listen to yourself, listen to your body. That's internal awareness. That means you have to go dig in there and figure it out, and nobody can really do that for you. I mean, you can have some people that can help, or that can do that, but help you with it, but they can't make you do it. It's impossible. You have to be able to tap into that. That's why I believe the best players are their own coaches. They got to have guys, they have guys or girls that help them out a little bit here and there and all that, but they're their own. I mean, they are their coach. They're with themselves more than anybody else is around them, period. And there's things like any great player would tell you that there's things you can't be taught. There's just, period, that you learn through experience. Just like Harvey Pinnick said, you want to be a great player, it takes experience, it takes time, it takes patience. And if you want to beat that, then you better have a lot of talent. So most people don't, but you can acquire it. Just like the internal arts is such a good way to, and yoga is also the same thing, or going into a martial arts the first time you're coming in as a white belt, and you stay in a year or two, and you just stay with the fundamentals as you go along, and doing the right things, and sparring and competing and doing all the things that you're supposed to do, and you learn. If you hit a punching bag all the time, it's like, that's like to relate it to martial arts sometimes, because you get somebody that hit a punching bag their whole life, or did shadow boxing for 20 years and never stepped in the ring. The first time they step in the ring, they're gonna melt. It's just like somebody that sits on a driving range all the time and just hits range balls like a range rat all the time. They're not, when the first time you put them over there on the golf course, they're going to melt. They're going to freak out, and you take somebody that never does shadow boxing but knows a little bit, and they just scrap all the time. You better believe it. When you put them in that ring, they're going to know what to do, and that's what these great players do. They play golf, and they don't play mindless golf. They play mindful. They play to compete, and that's what makes you a good amateur, a good tour player, a good whatever. But if you're just in to learn the science of the swing, good luck. I've done this for long enough now where I just don't believe in it. I think when I see that, usually I see somebody that has a really good swing that can't play. I'd rather see the swing or everything sloppy but can play much more than I would see somebody, oh man, look how technical they are, but they struggle. I wonder why, which is really common. So there's a blend. You need some techniques. You need to improve yourself, but you need to make sure that you're on the right process. That's the goal of this program. It always will be. And that's why we're having success with it. But are there any other questions? I think I got everything up from my notes here. So, okay. Hey, Chris, first of all, I want to thank you for your time tonight. And
no problem. It was fun.
Yeah, and all the knowledge you brought to the table tonight. Chris is also doing work for us. If you need, if you're interested in doing any live training with Chris through how we do it, all you got to do is just email me or call me and let me know. But like I said, Chris, he walks the walk and he lives it, and he's somebody can help you understand how to find your, get you interested and get you moving. That's the first thing, just getting going and having somebody to tell you, like, you're not doing it right. This is the way you need to do it, and getting on the right track, and then you can take over from there. But, getting on the right track is harder than it's just like golf swinging. It's if you get somebody on the right track, you'll start to get that natural energy, and they start getting away from that superficial stuff, and you increase your natural energy throughout the day, and your clarity's better, and life gets better, decisions gets better, business gets better. I'm a believer in that. And so sometimes it just takes somebody getting on you and telling you what you need to do. But Chris, hey,
getting it started.
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate you helping us all tonight, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the next webinar. But if you have any questions, fire away. But if not, we're going to wrap it up.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks a lot.
See ya.
All right. Thank y'all. Have a good one.